Hello everybody, welcome to another episode of Against the Storm, and a new update we call the Blight Fighter update. This update adds many interesting new mechanics, but the most important of it being the new blight cysts that form on buildings causing pollution. If you let it get out of hand, it can put out your fire and lead to some nasty consequences. To start, on a brand new map, I decided to settle right next to a new oddity I've never seen before. This oddity means I won't have any arable farmland in this playthrough, so therefore I bring some eggs with me to start off. Despite this, I ended up taking the settlement with humans thinking I might still farm. This is a mistake, and of course, I don't realize this till much later. We have some forest mysteries that I've never seen before, including Crimson Rainfall, which in a Spark Dew collector allows me to gather pigment, which can be packaged into luxury goods and sold for a high price. Strange Visions also gives me focus, which will allow me a chance to double production as long as my villagers have housing. These forest mysteries are actually really good, and it encourages me to take on a trading route, although I don't end up trading very much as the traders don't really have anything I want. To start, I start building out some roads around the base structures that we have. This is always generally a good idea to start with, as, you know, it allows for quicker movement around. I then decide to chop in some glades and forage for some eggs for some extra food along the way, especially since I won't be able to farm up large quantities of it. To take advantage of Crimson Rainfall, I also decide to place a Spark Dew collector so that way I may collect some of that pigment early on and maybe even package it and sell it. Considering we have stone nearby, I also decided to place down a stone cutter, which will allow me to gather that stone and one of the new resources in the game that we'll see later on. In order to take advantage of our Strange Visions perk, I decided to place down some houses so that way all of our villagers can take full advantage of it, even if not all of them are going to be working at this moment. Around this time, I get my first option to pick my first cornerstone. Looking at all of them, I ultimately decide on the meat delivery line, since I know food will be scarce this playthrough, and having a constant source of food will be good. In order to take care of trading, I also decided to establish a trading post, although I put it to a negative priority so that way all the other buildings will be built first, since those ones will determine my raw items and my collected goods. Our first opened up glade doesn't have very much, although I'd still decide to take a quest for opening glades in hopes that I'll find something good. My second quest actually asks me to get Resolve, which can be done very easily by simply favoring a species. I choose Metal Veins thinking that I might just mine it, but it actually ends up being a super easy quest along with the Beavers quest, in which all I have to do is favor them. Then we have our reputation bonuses, in which I choose an artisan for coats and pigments, a kiln for jerky and coal, and a forager's camp since I can harvest grain that I've already found in our new open glade. Thanks to the trick of favoring, I get the beaver quest done super easily and unlock another set of buildings, although I'm unsure of which building I'm going to take from here, so I don't choose any yet. Thanks to unlocking the artisan, I can turn pigment collected in the rain collector into dyes, which I can sell for high prices in luxury packs. I ended up deciding to assign beavers to the station as they are proficient in the gears that are required for the rain collector. Before the storm comes, I decide to place down a hydrant and a Blight Fighter post, which will allow me to combat blight cysts that will try to put out my fire. I had to use a new resource called Sacred Fire in order to do this, although to make it is very resource intensive on either coal, wood, oil, or using a new material that you can burn in your fire. Up to 3 blight cysts can form on any structure that forms any kind of pollution, including my rain collector. The more cysts you have, the more bonuses you get, including faster movement and chance for double production. Although, the more you have, the higher your chance you have for your fire to go out. So you'll need to combat these quickly in order to not lose your fire. After choosing a leather worker for a better cloth recipe, I decided to take a human resolve quest and a happy brewing quest, in which I use a brewery and 30 ale and unlock a tavern. Unlocking buildings through quests is actually super useful, especially since you only get a limited amount throughout your playthrough. In my first set of newcomers, I don't yet see my third type of villager that can live with us, including harpies or lizards, but ultimately I decided to take more beavers since they'll bring more planks of wood with them. Picking my second cornerstone, I also decided to go with Rebellious Spirit to ensure that my people stay happy at all times. The way Rebellious Spirit works is that as long as the queen is unhappy, our people will be happier. Early game this doesn't matter so much, but in the late game this will be incredibly useful for keeping resolve high. I decided to assign a human to my ancient hearth in order to prevent impatience from getting too high though, as in the last game I played, I actually lost, since I was unable to satisfy the queen's demands into the late game. Our first trader comes by, but ultimately he doesn't have anything of interest to me, and so I decide not to sell to him or buy to him. Around this time I complete my second quest by favoring the humans, and I realize how easy my third quest will be by chopping down the unique tree in this biome, the copper vein tree, which, as you may have guessed, provides copper. I also decided to start working on my kiln and increasing brick production, and so that way I can build it. The kiln is super useful as it provides both jerky and charcoal. We can get jerky even easier since we took that meat delivery line early in the game. Now that our blight post is done, I decided to assign 2 humans to it, so that way we can start working on getting them that sacred fire in order to fight off the blight infections, which mostly at the moment plague my single rain collector, although will start to soon plague my kiln and my artisan. If you're new to this update and this is the first time you're seeing this, it's super important to set a limit on your sacred fire. Each one uses either 10 wood or 3 coal and can be disastrous if you forget to set it. Now that the kiln is actually up and running, I decided to set some limits for bricks, coal, and jerky, although I ended up removing the limit for coal as I figured the more coal the better. Our artisan is actually pretty soon to follow as well, and it will allow us to make coats which will leave the humans very happy. I also noticed that in our tavern we actually have the unique icon since it comes for our quest, although the icon seems kind of out of place. You can agree with me or disagree with me in the comments, but ultimately I think they should probably change that icon. Now that it's the storm, our Blight Fighters actually are taking care of the blight on our rain collector, although I don't notice it at this moment. With our new dangerous glade open, I decided to send some villagers to go explore our brand new small destroyed caravan which will prevent traders from coming to my lands. Ultimately this isn't something I want, and I figure by keeping the pottery that comes with it, I can make some more of that beer that I need for the quest. With land around my hearth running out, I decided to clear out some more trees near the land so that way I can expand some houses and even some buildings in it. With the start of the new year means 2 new quests, in which I choose one for finding ancient tablets and one for collecting 25 trade goods to sell. I decide to reroll my reputation bonuses, as none of them appeal to me at that moment. Seeing that I can get crystallized dew from a brickyard, which pairs nicely with the ability to make weapons, which can help bloodthirst inside the tavern that we're working on, I decided to take it as it's by far and away the best option. With the new year, we also get new villagers, including our 3rd type of villager, lizards, which are actually super useful in this playthrough, considering they're useful as Blight Fighters and for cooking jerky. And although they're already gone, I already went ahead and chose a forest hostility removing cornerstone this year, although in hindsight I wish I had taken the other one for each level of hub that our fire is upgraded to. Around this time we actually get enough copper to fulfill our quest, and since we've got a new quest done, that means we get a new building along with it. In it, we actually get our brewery, which is also required for a quest. And so we go ahead and build that here, although I decide for a little bit where to place it, as the placement on it is actually a little funky, and I prefer aesthetics sometimes. Getting the brickyard up also allows us to build our buildings faster since we have a higher brick production, which is miles ahead on both resources and time when it comes to making bricks compared to our makeshift workstation. For our next trader, Sahilda, the general trader, we actually see a few things that we want from her, and so I decided to trade some of my amber over for some reed. If you don't know why, I'm using reed to make cloth at the moment, which is also used for my humans to make coats for them, to make them a little bit happier. Here's the first time I actually noticed my Blight Fighters fighting the Blight. It's a pretty neat little animation, and I was not expecting them to be using a flamethrower to get rid of these Blight cysts. Although nothing more than a small glade, that is actually my 3rd glade cleared since the start of the exploration quest, which gives me a few resources and a boost to global carrying capacity, which is always useful. With our next set of newcomers, I ultimately choose the newcomers who bring coal with them, as coal is an invaluable resource in this game. For my next reputation bonus, I ended up choosing a weaver, as they have the ability to make weapons, which, as I mentioned before, can be used in the upcoming tavern in order to fulfill bloodlust. I also placed on a few decorations to boost our hub to the level of an encampment, which will allow happier villagers inside the area. Again, I'm getting more orders in which I choose trade goods, leisure satisfaction, and, once again, ancient tablets. Although, as you'll see through this video, I don't find a single ancient tablet in this entire run. For the sake of speeding up my productive villagers, I also start to place down some stone roads around the hearth, before finally assigning humans to the weavers, so that way I can finally get some cloth, weapons, and luxury good production going. I then start to harvest some wheat near our town, so that way we can produce more ale for both the original Happy Brewing quest, but also for the satisfaction of leisure once we get our tavern up and going. For the sake of ensuring I have resources until the later half of the game, I decided to chop in some more glades in order to see what we have inside of them, although I probably should have cut into the dangerous glades since they have more overall. Also, I decided to place some more houses to get full advantage of our drizzle effect known as Strange Visions. Once again, I start placing down some more decorations in order to level up our fire once more. On top of it making our villagers more productive, it also means that our fire is more resilient to the blight. We get our next trader, and yet again I don't see anything of interest here, and so ultimately I don't trade for anything. Now that we've finally brewed enough ale, we have officially unlocked our tavern building, which will be instrumental in the success of our town. We go ahead and place it inside the range of the hearth, that way we might even be able to upgrade to a 3rd level hearth, but by the end we don't even reach that point, so it doesn't really ultimately matter at this point. Getting another reputation bonus, I decided to take human houses, as keeping humans pleased is very easy, but getting them to a high level of satisfaction to earn casual reputation is much harder. After not caring much for our original set of bonuses, I decided to go with Silent Looting, which should keep the forest hostility way down. Additionally, I decided to go for a few more quests relating to both exploring glades and making trade goods. With the tavern officially built, I assigned 3 people to it to unlock the Gleeman's Tales ability, which gives +3 resolve to all people inside the town. But, by satisfying leisure and bloodthirst, this +3 will be a drop in the bucket compared to what's to come. To further ensure some more happy humans, I decided to place down some human housing too. After a little fiddling around with the druid's hut, I ultimately decided it's a pretty good choice since it will allow me access to oil and a source of incense, which can be used if I get a religious building. Although I won't get it in this playthrough, had I gotten it, this would have been a very useful way of boosting resolve. In our newly opened Dangerous Glade, we have a stone-toothed termite burrow, which, if not solved, can be a major pain, but I love this building for the sole fact that you can convert it into a source of bugs that will basically give you a bug supply line for the rest of the game. Not to mention, this burrow that I opened up into actually has a bunch of stone around it, which is incredibly useful. Here you can see the blight buildup is getting pretty bad on some of my buildings, but my lizards are super efficient in fire, and so they're pretty good at taking care of the blight overall. Noticing that blight had gotten pretty bad, I went ahead and upped the limit of purging fire that our firefighters can make, which should help us stay safer overall. We're greeted once more by another trader, who, while having something that I was interested in, I ultimately don't buy from, as it would mean I'd have to sell my luxury goods, which I need for several quests at the moment. Thinking that there might be an opportunity to get to a 3rd level outpost, I decided to build some more decorations to try to reach that level. When our new set of newcomers comes by, I decided to choose the group with the largest variety, just so I can fill roles easier so long as they have the proficiencies in them. I'm not really running out of proficiencies in any specific group, but whenever I build a building, it's nice to have all of them just to choose from. Although I thought it was a little useless at the time, I went in and chose the Queen's Favor perk, which will give passive generation of influence a major boost. I didn't think it would be useful at the time, but I quickly realized just how useful this is whenever my bar is nearing another influence point already. To rush and try to take full advantage of this, I went ahead and favored the humans to try to get as many points as possible before accepting the point for completing the Serving Ale quest. I went ahead and also called for the traders straight away so that way I could try to buy some more from them, before I accepted the new building for my reputation point, ultimately landing on the cellar, which will allow us to make wine and jerky, although I have a more efficient source of doing so already. The trader I called over actually had some really useful abilities, including one where I can make wine just by brewing ale, which, if you were paying attention, you already knew I could do. We use this ability to make more wine on top of it, which allows us to use the guild house or the market efficiently for our beavers to satisfy luxury. I ultimately go with the market, thinking that while the other building is more useful for trading, this one adds a global bonus to carrying capacity, which is ultimately meaningless in this short period of time before now in the end, but I chose at the time thinking that I might still have a little bit more time before the end of the game. I also find this cooperage in a dangerous glade, and although I don't find any use in the cooperage, the trade post, if harvested, gave a lot of oil which could be burned in my fire. Once more I start placing down decorations that I had missed for a requirement to reach level 3. And as you probably already are aware, I didn't reach it in time by the end of this playthrough, but I still took the time to do it anyway. I also built some more stone harvesting camps so that we would collect more stone, but by the time they finish, I forgot to assign anyone to them, so they were ultimately useless yet again. Looking at my last few quests, I realized that I'm probably going to have to make some packs of building materials for one of my quests, so I went ahead and placed down a makeshift post so that way I could start making some of these items. For a brief moment, I start looking over trading posts that I can trade to, although again, I don't find anything of interest to trade, and so I ultimately don't. I get some new villagers to choose from, and I choose the one that has the most food. And then, for my next cornerstone, I went and chose friendly relations, even though I hadn't traded once in this game. The other two just not being at all useful in really any way. To end the game, here I realize that I can favor the beavers and then burn some extra fuel in order to make everyone super happy. At this point, everyone will be perfectly satisfied and I'll finish off the game by simply gaining passive reputation. Just as I start to burn the coal, I actually get a notification telling me that my last trading goods goal is complete, which wins me the game then and there. I'd like to thank you all for watching this video, and especially if you watched all the way through. Please remember to like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys later.